Yeah, for the attendees, there are 23 of you. I don't think you can see each other to see who's here. You're all muted. I'm using chat to monitor for Q&A and issues and technical difficulties and whatever.
Jeez, oh Pete.
Don, I'm not sure, do you usually do the panelists just for the meeting afterwards, or do you add them for the, like,
I mean, everybody's
because I see Herman, I see a Laura, I'm not sure if that's
so
our Laura.
Herman came as, I'm going to make him a panelist. Here's Laura. I'll make Laura a panelist.
I hope that's the one. If not, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll just pull it up, and
Okay.
I don't think we need to get into the big long gap analysis thing, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, let me go get it. Let me see if it came through. Okay, so this is a PDF, Steve. Got it.
Yeah, I think that's a long template.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll use that one after everything if we need more time or whatever here. So
okay,
I don't think we'll even use that one, but we'll just use those two presentations. That's
all
fine.
right. Greg or Kelvin, do you have intro slides, or we just kind of jump in?
I did not make any. Greg, your chair this year. I don't know if you made any from the ones I'd sent out last November, December. I usually just take the prior months and update.
I guess I've got this. This is from way back, the Wayback Machine, as they say.
Yeah. Who was that? Peabody and
Sherman and Peabody.
Sherman and Peabody. That's it.
Excuse me. Mr. Peabody and his boy Sherman.
That's what, something like that. Yeah, the dog and the boy. Yeah,
the dog and his boy. So that's the way I feel with my dog here. But
yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do for the folks that are online. If you came in as a participant, I don't think you can see each other. I don't think you can talk or take yourself off mute. If you have questions, comments, urgent interjections, I'm watching chat while we're presenting, trying to multitask here. And we'll typically kind of save questions unless there's something that needs to be right there. What we have done, you watched us fiddle with WebEx for the last half hour, so I guess I call it networking. Steve's going to do the talk from about 6 to 6:50-ish. We're going to do a Q&A. And people that are on the attendees, if you're interested in staying around for the officer volunteer meeting, and I'm not sure if we have an agenda for one yet, Greg and Kelvin, but we would typically reconvene about 7:10, keep this line open, and just roll into an officer meeting. We may not have very much tonight, but you're welcome to stay and raise your hand if you want me to make you a panelist for that. But right now we have 23 attendees, and
good.
Greg Stewart is our new chair. Herman,
congratulations. Yep.
is our treasurer. And Kelvin is our past chair, I think. And Steve Legget is our presenter this evening. I had your bio here somewhere, Steve. I don't know if you want to DIY or
Yeah, I can do a short, and I'm thanks for inviting me. I always like to help ASQ no matter what. I'll go above and beyond, but I'm a fellow CQA Six Sigma Green Belt. Been in quality for over 40 years, retired GM, supplier quality, senior guy, American Axle, and consulting a little bit right now, and a little bit with Omnex too, and love to do ASQ things. But this is a short presentations on internal auditing. Most suppliers or most companies, or here, I'm not even gonna start my presentation yet, but that's what I've been doing here for 40 years. I'm a great volunteer. I do a lot of Santa stuff and clowning things, and that's my personal life. I'm a good Christian guy and everything, and I try to do things from that. But I love quality, and I'm here to help if anybody needs anything with quality related activity. So that's short and sweet. We don't have to go through a big bio, but it was in the presentation above before anyway. So
Okay. Is this what you want to show, Steve? And how does this look on everybody's screen? I've got all kinds of host garbage on my screen.
you can open it up wider so you don't see the slides on the left, so that it's a bigger slide. You know what I mean? For PowerPoint.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
So, and then you just tell me when you want to start or whatever, and we'll go.
I think we're ready.
Okay.
We've got 23 attendees and the panel. So if you guys don't have a bunch of floating garbage on the screen that you're looking at like I am, I'm happy. We'll just roll through this.
So here we're going to do internal auditing, IATF 16949. The gap analysis is basically a later thing, but mostly internal auditing things and risk management. My detail over the last 9-10 years doing auditing more frequently, and I found more internal things. So that's what I'm going to try to show you guys what we're trying to do. So next slide there, Don, please. Okay, so here's a quick agenda, and basically here I'm reading, but I'll explain each of as we go through there. Don't forget the IATF's the 6 rules edition effective January 1st. It's been out for almost a year now, or maybe 6 to 8 months. It was sent out last spring, so effective now. So you guys, all companies should look at the Rules 6 edition, and I have a little explanation later. I'll talk about internally auditing techniques, the deep dive into the auditing, and some root causes that I see there, an overview of the gap analysis assessment. And I'm going to use that for later there, where we'll talk about that. And then the risk management, which is more down in detail on the failure modes, internal failure modes, warranty failure modes, even root cause problem solving, basic problem solving, or even some of the people that they put somebody in place, but they don't have the experience. Or from that standpoint, I'm trying to look at, if you have experienced people in place, things should go smoother. But my experience is they're all newer people. There's a big quality gap, about a 30-year gap that I've seen in more seasoned veterans, like most of us here, if you will, in ASQ, or trying to show them the details that they can correct on that. And then we talk about a little bit of corrective actions on how you're doing that, and then we'll do the Q&A. Go ahead, next slide for me. So here's the 6 rules edition, effective last week. So everybody, it affects everybody. You know, what's your transition plans? It's been out there for 6 or 8 months, so you should already have it implemented. So if you don't, this is just another highlight to make sure you have it started. And if you haven't, then you got to show documented proof of your past internal audits. So don't just start up now. You've done audits at last year. Document those. Those are going to be looked at by the CBs, your certified bodies, your auditors that'll look at, show me your evidence, your objective audit evidence. So there's where some of the failure modes could be effective, where I didn't do all my audits, or I didn't do my daily layered process audits, those kind of things. Some key changes to the QMS, virtual auditing now, audit cycles, and this is between you and your certified body. Extended manufacturing sites. Now each site has their own documented audit, so you have to, they're standalone. Audit durations and timing. You make plans with your certified body, whoever those groups are, and you have to show objective evidence, the nonconformances, or they'll put a decertification process in place if you don't have it processed. So you got to have the documented plan and show them that once you start this 2025 time. Next slide, please. Internal auditing effectiveness here. Now, most of my experience here, tier 1 managements of the tier 2s and 3s from APQP, and they're over the last couple years, it's been a big downslide. So you need seasoned people to do that process, a seasoned supplier quality person. And the QMS here, I've seen tons of, I'm going to say, from warranty to supplier errors, internal errors, internal quality errors that you've had, quality failures, spills, all those kind of things. A lot of them don't get out, but are the companies actually looking at them, and your upper management is backing that, and what are you doing about it? So if you have failure modes, you have to show the objective evidence and from the past, if you will, from past audits. Well, and does everybody know what a layered process audit is? An LPA, a daily effective, anybody can do it at any time, usually like once a month. You'd go through all the layered process audits, find all the failure modes, and then do root cause. Get your quality toolbox out and do that. A lot of them just sit in a file, and then nothing's actually have that, and nothing's actually audited. So we're trying to find out what are those errors, and then have you done your gap analysis, and to show that. Now, risk analysis. How many have looked at all the failure modes that are in there? Assembly line failure modes, looking at everything from processing to what are the problems that you're seeing internally. And then going out and looking at your tier 2s and tier 3 suppliers. Are they actually following your APQP to PPAP? Most tier 1 suppliers that I'm seeing, they take for granted, and they don't do receiving inspection anymore. Everybody's certified, so they accept it. But then when they find a supplier that's in the non-conformance, they don't follow through with it, and then sometimes it happens again, or they put a Band-Aid on it. That's where the risk analysis and the FEMA breakdown, and you need to go deeper in that. And that's where I'm seeing a lot of the suppliers that they don't do the deep dive into it. They put a Band-Aid on it and they don't fix it, or they're not supported by upper management. So that's what I'm trying to show, is that make sure you have upper management involved. Even your DFEMAs, if you're design responsible, you have to look at those, or look at your special processes. Has anybody looked at their machinery FEMAs? These are old. These are 20 years old, 25 years old. Machinery FEMAs were in the early 2000s. And that's for your production lines, your welding lines. Have you looked at all the conveyor lines, anything like that, for the equipment failure modes? And a lot of the problems are even in the equipment failure modes that you don't see. You might have a problem that I have a welder that went out and it didn't do a penetration. Well, what do? You got to cut and section it, those kind of things. And they don't follow through with it. So that's where the deep dive comes into place to look at that. Your AIAG, how many of you people have special processes? Welding, painting, coatings, heat treat, casting, forgings, injection molding. Those are the kind of things. Now you got to have individual audits, yearly audits, to show that. And it's a self-assessment audit. But if you have a third party come in and do it, then you won't be trying to do a special say, it's close enough, don't worry about it. No, you have to be very hard on yourself and look at if you find a failure mode in those processes, or is it outside do you send it out maybe I can't do a welding. I'm just a stamper and I weld outside. Did you actually do the audit, or you just trust your welding guy? Go out there and actually do the audits. The painting and coating audits are special too, especially if you have chips or possible rust, if they're chassis parts, those kind of things. So audit points of interest, make sure you have a seasoned, experienced auditor, and you want to improve their skills possibly to do that. I have a 2-day seminar I try to do to help do a in-process deep dive check to help out suppliers, tier 2s and 3 suppliers, or monitoring the tier 1s, helping the tier 1s monitor their tier 2s and 3s. And again, seasoned, experienced auditors, but make sure that the audits, if they've been failing, what are you doing with that? What are the failure modes? Have you talked to your upper management? Do they support you? So those are some of the kind of things here. If you don't involve upper management and you don't have the commitment from it, and especially now, over the last 3-4 years, excuse me, oh, excuse me, talking a lot. Over the last 3-4 years, I've seen with the COVID things that everybody just sends in their audit paperwork and then they just check it off the list. You're going to see more problems coming up in the future. And I've seen that over the last couple of years because of the COVID. And we just said, oh, here, just send me your certification and we won't worry about it. But you got to follow through on all those errors or nonconformances. So I also try here, if you have an experienced auditor, it'll be a refresher looking at the application, not the academics of it. And it will help auditors, any auditor, even a seasoned auditor, try to get more in detail and help promote their processes. Next slide, please. Some obstacles to overcome. If your QMS is integrated into your business system, the organization, it's the responsibility of top management. Now, I just said here, make sure you have your top management involved with the whole process. And I just had one of my buddies here in December. He told me about his warranty problems, and I can't say the company or anything like that here, but the warranty problems where they don't have the right people or they don't have enough people to problem solve all their warranty. And it's a major automotive company, but he's just asking me for some help a little bit to help him guide him through that, to help him do that here. And he's a good buddy of mine, but we have to stop it there from there. Using your make sure you help promote a process change of risk-based thinking. And I have a breakdown of the risk-based thinking. We go through a process, and I'll show you that later on after this presentation, and it'll break down any nonconformances and help you take risk-based or adding FEMAs, adding failure modes to look at that. Now, if you're engaging in the directing of your personnel, make sure they contribute that effectiveness to the QMS. Make sure the management roles support it, and we have their leadership behind that. Now, if there's corporate responsibility, a lot of that here is you have corporate responsibility. Let's say it's in one city and you have 6 or 8 different plants. Each individual plants has their own concerns. And we also try to have that corporate responsibility come on down and help. Make sure they understand what it is. It's just not a check in a box. And I keep saying that because the check in the box is what we've seen lately because of COVID and the lack of that. And even with ASQ a little bit here, we're all doing virtual meetings when we used to have come on down and visit everybody and see everybody once a month. That's the good old days. We don't have that anymore. So make sure that you identify process owners that are managing each of the process, the inputs and the outputs, and all the tracking that belongs there. Now, this takes personnel, and a lot of people are wearing multiple hats or multiple management positions, but we have to hire the right people to make sure we document these. And that's what the new QMS comes up here with this Rule 6. And you're going to see more CBs looking at these different audits that you're looking at. Now, when you're conducting management reviews and assessments, got to look at the performance of the QMS. What were the errors in the QMS? What were the non-conformances? Did you assign them? Did you assign them to a person? Do they have a timing on it? And what's their timing for corrective actions? And then also here, the last part where we're looking at daily process audits, where at least once a month, you should go through every documented, standardized workstation, making sure everybody's following that document. That's where the LPAs come in. And that's the foundation of that. The LPAs are a foundation of internal audits. If you can show the non-conformances, that's when you find them. And that's the perfect time to put your corrective actions in place, to actually root cause, put corrective action in place so they don't come back again. Add those failure modes to the FEMAs when you find them. A lot of companies, they find them and then they don't add them to the FEMAs. There's more and more things like that. So next slide, please. Engaging in the audit process. Techniques for connecting. Look and listen to the people. Create a sense of involvement. Observe the relatable audit findings into your presentation so they make a great impact. Encourage questions and answers. Be thoughtful, make sure they're thoughtful responses to enhance the audit process participation. Gather your audit results, promoting engagements and making sure the auditors feel involved. The upper management still here. Most of the time you have an audit, you come in there, you have a pre-meeting, you know what your scope of work is for an audit. You're showing what you're doing. You're actually doing the audit with a checklist or whatever it is. And then you have upper management supporting that. And then at the end of the audit, we always have upper management. We have the before, here's what it was. And then after the audit, we show them what it was and we show them all the presentations and all the audit findings we have. So sometimes you get nervous. I was nervous. I was just telling Don before I started here, every time I do a presentation, I still get nervous on it. So here, QMS audit training. Make sure you're a seasoned person. Your HR training matrix is ineffective. I've seen where these people, the standardized work that you have at every station, every person has some kind of standardized work. And are they trained properly? Was the team leader or the trainer, was he trained properly? I've even found a couple of those where they just thought up whatever they wanted to do, and here's what you're going to do in this standardized work. So actually getting and making sure your auditors, if they're not trained properly, again, I've had non-seasoned 2 or 3 years experience of auditing, and then they're in charge of the whole work or their whole process of auditing. And then next thing you know, there's problems where they don't identify it, or they don't know how to involve the smart guy person. You're expert in these processes. And then we start doing training, doing floor mock auditing. When you train these people, show them how to audit. Ask the questions. What's the objective evidence to look for? Does it meet the requirements of the question? If it's not, then how do I actually score it? Or is it a nonconformance or isn't it a nonconformance? And then making sure your corrective actions are in place. Make sure your standardized work's followed. And you have the right problem-solving tool in your quality toolbox. There's plenty of quality problem-solving tools. Fishbone, Ishikawa thing here. The 8D is just a problem-solving reporting. It's not a problem-solving tool. It's a report. But here, how am I going to find out here? SPC, or what quality tool am I looking at? And again, the layered process audits, you got to have an audit that's effective and look at every nonconformance daily and on a weekly and a monthly basis. Are they implementing those? And this goes from not just a tier 1, but are your tier 2s and 3s following your processes as a tier 1, if that's the case? Next slide, Don, please. So some visual aids. Review the QMS gap assessment checklist. We have a template there that I can do later on. We can look at that. But that's a 1.5 day audit that we don't have time to go through the whole thing, but it's there if we need it. I have a risk analysis checklist on the next presentation slide we'll look at. Making sure you're training of your experienced auditors. Again, the minimum, they're a CQA, let's just say. Are they a CQA to become one of your internal auditors? Not just a lead auditor, but are they qualified to do that? And then make sure the auditors ask the auditee questions from the checklist, not just some kind of other checklist or some kind of audit question from their experience, right? Stick by the checklist and the scope of work. Next slide, please. Effective audit techniques: talking in a firm, positive tone, asking the auditors questions correctly, show them how to emphasize the points and maintain their interest, asking the right auditing questions correctly. Do I have a pitch variation, or I can't talk very good, or am I monotone, or am I talking too softly where you can't hear me? Making sure you have the right volume so that they fully understand. Control your body gestures, just showing you here, making sure you have eye contact with them, shake their hands, look them in the eye, purposeful gestures like shaking your hands, making sure you're talking the right way, maintaining good posture, sit up, make sure you stay focused on the audit, control your emotions, your expressions even, stick to the audit and the scope of work. Next slide, please. So preparing for your Q&A, make sure you do your homework, know your material in advance. You have a couple, 3 days to do that. Anticipate common questions, rehearse your responses. If they ask you this question, how am I going to respond to it? Not just shoot from the hip. Maintain your self-control during the Q&A questions. This is like on the third day of your audit if you're doing an IATF audit. It's essential projecting confidence and authority. Know what you're talking about. Be positive. Stay calm. Make sure you always listen. Positive reflection and maintain eye control. Don't be timid. Make sure you're assertive and you're positive in that standpoint. These are just general things you can do to make sure your audit is more effective. Next slide, please. Auditing nonconformances and corrective actions here. Document every nonconformance with a corrective action, timing, and resolution. And who's it responsible for that? Keeping your upper management in reflection of that. You have a master spreadsheet that shows all these nonconformances so that you can follow up on them and close them out. Same thing with if you're finding when you're doing a layered process audit to your process control plan, right? Remember the right-hand side of the process control plan, it says here, nonconformance, who's doing it, what recommendations are you doing, what timing, who's responsible. So those are kind of things. Even in your FEMA, if I redo my RPN from the old days here, is it a 9 or 10 for severity? Those are the ones you want to get first, making sure of that. If you're design responsible, especially in 9s and 10s for severity, those you have to maintain control of. Communication, not only delivering the audit results, but also experiences and make sure your emotions are held within. Don't give them any extra information. Just stick to the audit. Also, the detailed description of the QMS in your final report. This will tell you all the nonconformance results and the follow-up, if you will, statements. You can't do recommendations, but you can give them, here's the statements that we saw. Give them the actual results that you found in your audit. Next slide, please. So some final auditing tips. Training experienced auditors, not new ones. If you can find them, don't just hire them off the street. Make sure that they're seasoned, trained auditors like CQAs or more, if possible. That's like 5 years experience. But sometimes if you look at the CQA requirements, they say here, if I got a 4-year degree and 1 year of auditing, I'm certified to be a CQA auditor. Well, I'm just looking at that. Is that enough? Think about it. Is that enough auditing experience to put them in charge of that? You want to put them on the team. You can show them the footwork, show them the P's and Q's of that, if you will. But try to get a competent, experienced auditor. Most of my problems that I've saw in my auditing experience over the last, since just before COVID, was they don't have enough training as auditors, and they didn't do a deep dive in their root causes. And then when you correct them, it wasn't even in the FEMAs. So they were doing more checklists because of COVID, and that's over with now. So we got to get back to the basics and the foundation of auditing. That's where it's coming from. Making sure you have your audit timing and transitions documented, your audit practice. Make sure you practice with your audience. Engage your colleagues to listen and provide feedback. Get the smart guy. You might not be the smart guy for welding. Who's the smart guy? It might be the welding engineer that you might get some more questions answered. Look at continuous improvements. Seek feedback from every question that you can. Explore any new techniques. Could be some AI things now. Are we looking at? Set any personal goals. Here another one. CQI or process audits like heat treat, welding, coatings, right? Find those expert process audits to help you do those CQI process audits. Next slide, please. So this is a couple slides on a seminar that I do, kind of a thing, to go a deep dive into it. So day one, you can read. I'm not going to go through everything, but I tell them here's what that was the 5th edition. Now I got to add the 6th edition for the IATF rules. Make sure you add that. That's the next thing that's coming on there. And then it just sort of tells you what we're trying to do. We do slides, we do presentations, we do breakouts on that, and we look at all what the company has, what are they investigated, or what are they doing on their introductions for the IATF 16949. We use quizzes to ensure comprehensions, give a little certificate if they want for their training, for their HR problems, for their HR files. Next slide, please. We look at the training requirements. Every employee, if some company needs that here, every employee needs to know about IATF and what the audit's all about. Your record of training, right? At the end, again, you get a certificate of completion. Your training effectiveness. Those quizzes that come on there, you learn from your mistakes. There's no bad answers to them. We look at the 2015 9001 to the 16949 2016. Look at all those requirements. Sometimes that's just the overview on it. It's just not the actual classes, just an overview, because if you want more detailed, it takes a day and a half to go through each of those audits. So that would be extra for those kind of things. But it takes a deep dive into it. We look at group exercises, introduction to turtle diagrams or problem-solving tools. Go ahead, next slide, please. We do breakouts, trying to show here what's an audit plan, what are we going to do when we have the gap analysis and an internal checklist, auditing checklist. You start out with a gap analysis. After your gap analysis, it turns out that'll turn into your internal audit checklist, and you follow up with that. Any nonconformances, we sit back and we put those in place. Again, corrective actions, making sure upper management's still involved, and it could be from warranty to QMS to special process audits. And then I look at here, employee training. I got tons of PowerPoints that you're looking at. Okay, hold on.
Steve, I'm sorry, I bumped my mouse and it went nuts.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
Is this slide okay?
That's fine. That's fine.
Stop
And then here,
okay.
your audit planning and preparation. Here, what's the audit scope from the beginning? How do we do that? What kind of auditing are you going to do? What's the documentation plan? What is that? How are you going to create it? Before you actually do the audit, you got to do your homework. Use the 16949 gap analysis checklist to start out. If you haven't done that before, even if you haven't done that in the past, or maybe you've done it 5-6 years ago, try it again. Get a template. Excuse me. get a template and do another independent audit, or try to hire a third party. Not me. I'm not worried about that. I'm here to help you. Find somebody that can do a third party on it and to help you improve that, to look at that. Now here in the white here, the gap analysis checklist is suited for the automotive production and relative service parts. So if you have service parts or for those kind of things, it's perfect for those organizations seeking the initial registration and training. The checklist is a useful tool for your QMS against the automotive standard 16949, and that's the 2016. Okay, the standard also includes the ISO, and when you put all that together, the checklist, and then identify the checklist, you'll have the nonconformances, and again, identify who they are, put the corrective actions in place, the timing, and you got to follow through with the spreadsheet. Every nonconformance has to be closed out, looked at, even the FEMAs down to the standardized work. Where was the failure mode found, and how can I correct that? And it goes all the way down to the documentation. And then I think there might be one more slide. Oh, there we go. And then day 2, we look at here, performing the actual gap analysis checklist, actually doing a mock audit, showing you how to do that. By the time you get done with that, you should be able to take the checklist, do the audits, and then if there's something you don't know of, then you need to find the smart person or that engineer that knows more about it than you do, possibly, to help you out. Look for the smart man or lady that can help you out with that. Actually performing the audit, doing the audit checklist, getting out there and actually doing the mock audits. And it could be an hour a week to try doing that. And maybe over a year, when you start doing that, you can expand on it. Now make sure you include the integration, and make sure you ask the questions for each clause. The bold are the requirements. And so here, when you actually do the breakout, we'll actually perform an audit, use a process approach to it, and then use a risk planning analysis that we're going to do in the next presentation. Go ahead, next slide. And again here, linking the tools, APQP to PPAP requirements, any customer specifics, any core requirements for examination. Look at internal auditing skills. We go through, I show everybody here. Here's what the CQA auditing requirements are. We look at the CQA body of knowledge so they understand what it is to be a CQA. It's just not a checklist. It takes time to actually do that test or that exam. Right? You're proud of it, having that and passing that certification. And again, looking at the internal audits, layered process audits, and the implementation and follow-up. And again, looking at upper management, keeping them involved through the entire process, no matter what it is. Next slide. Other training here, looking at making sure every employee knows what 16949 is. Risk management exercise, we're going to do a little bit of that today. And making sure we understand what internal audit training materials are. Does everybody know here the core tools? Making sure if they're going to be an auditor, have they passed the core tools requirement? Do they understand what a FEMA is? Not FEMA, it's FMEA. You know, making sure you can find an error. And then maybe looking at it might be other checklists, the gap analysis that turns into the internal audit checklist. And if you need APQP, the PPAP, can I actually read the prints? Do I know my GD&T? Do I know my Lean or my Six Sigma concepts and the special process audits? So it's basically a quick overview, and that's just to show you what it takes on failure modes of an internal audit. And again, I see a lot of companies that just put them to the side, or it's not that big of a deal to do that here. And I think that's the last slide, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And then you can do my risk analysis presentation. That'll be a shorty.
Okay, this one?
If you show it, it's coming. That's it. Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead to the next one. Next slide. Right here, risk-based thinking, right? Like a SWOT analysis. What, red, green, yellow. Where is this risk at? Now, this is taking every failure mode and dissecting it. So this is a dissection of every failure mode you're trying to go to try to improve. Next slide. What can go wrong with the process? You have a single source supplier wiped out by a tsunami. What's the impact? You're shut down. What's the likelihood it happens? Unlikely, but it happens. How can you mitigate it? Find another supplier. Revise design to allow other options. You got to look at all things like that from purchasing to delivery, supply chain problems that we're seeing here. And a lot of companies, their supply chain is the problem. And then they only have a few people, the SQEs, that go out and look at that. But we need more function on the suppliers now, because that's where I'm seeing more supplier problems. And we need to look at that. Next slide, please. So the new automotive standard here, and I put the different sections on here for risk analysis. Clause 6.1, action to address opportunities. It looks at risk and opportunities when planning the quality management system. So this is way above, way beyond you're even actually auditing. At the risk analysis, at a minimum, the clause requires the companies to include the risk analysis, lessons learned for product recalls, product audits, field returns and repairs, complaints, scrap and rework, and retain documentation information as evidence of the risk analysis. And not just lately, but have you been doing it for years or for 6 months? The objective evidence that you've been doing it for a long time. So not just start it. If you have to start it now, don't try to backdate anything. Just tell the auditors the honest truth. Here, we just got trained in risk analysis, and we're going to take a deep dive in it, and that's where we go next. Next slide, please. So clause 6.1, the risk and opportunities are addressed in the QMS. Now here, the planning of the QMS. Give assurance that the process can achieve its intended results, enhance desirable effects, prevention to reduce or undesired effects, achieve improvement. So you have to show that, if I find it, can I improve it? It's just like our nonconformance, corrective action, and corrective action implementation. It's nothing more than that. That's all it is. Next slide. For other clauses, remember the deal with the risk associated with the operational processes needed for the products and services. Make sure you have make use of the organizational knowledge. That's the smart people at a minimum. Who's the quality engineer? Who's the welding engineer? Those kind of people that take care of it. Or the actual manufacturing engineers, the design engineers, right? Look at all the recalls, audits, field returns, complaints, scrap and rework. Everybody has scrap in their place. You should be doing that on a monthly basis. Here's my reduction in scrap. That's where everybody can start right away. With any non-conformance, there's any rework. Some people don't do rework, but there's a lot of scrap. And why was that scrap there? How can I prevent the scrap? Those are some of the risks that you try to improve. And again, enhance the desirable effects, prevent and reduce the undesirables to achieve the improvements. Next slide, please. So for both operational processes and QMS planning, put a process flow diagram together. Every process has a process flow diagram. How am I going to document that? Each step is where we take the risk analysis. So we make use of the process flow diagram, systematically identify areas, opportunities, and risks. Next slides. Process flow diagram. What step? What was the problem? What was the risk? Is a documentation to show what steps you're using and to find out where those risks or what are the risks or the scrap that's involved in that. So again, the scrap, you can start out with this as scrap. How can I help prevent every little scrap that was identified and how to correct it? Next slide. External suppliers. If you go back one, that was for internal, for planning, just for the internal side, and then the next slide, please. The external providers. So from a purchasing standpoint, what are my outside suppliers? How do I evaluate risk on any scrap that's come from them? And you take step by step for their processes. Your supplier quality people will look at the PPAPs and those kind of things, but we're looking at failure modes that you can see that have happened to you. Next slide. Again, purchasing, receive it, store it. How do we go through it? Step by step. Where can the risk happen? How can I prevent it? And then if we find a risk, or we found where was that nonconformance that has already been there, we've documented it. We've tried to put people on it, but we don't know how. This is pretty simple. Take a process flow diagram. Where's it at? And do a deep dive. Go ahead. Next slide, please. So conduct those risk analysis in your production and service, any internal or outside suppliers, both operational processes and your QMS planning. Look at those process flow diagrams, every step. Look at the standardized work. A lot of people, they skip maybe one portion of a standardized work so they can go on break faster. You never know. So you got to look at everything, follow through, document. Could be run at rates even, tech timing. Are they doing everything that they say they do? And then make use of the management worksheet we're going to go through in a minute. And then systematically conduct a risk analysis for every step in each process flow diagram. Next step, our process. So here's the risk management worksheet. Every step, what is present or could be introduced as a risk? What's the description of the risk? Is it significant? Your severity, 1, 2, likelihood, or significant, 3. Does the next step of the process eliminate the risk? How can I prevent it? You might have sensors or transducers or something, part present or whatever it is. How can I eliminate the risk? Or air proofing involved, poka-yoke. Red rabbits, we used to call them here. They still do that from the old days. What controls are there to address the risk? Is the process step at risk or no? Yes or no? If it's at yes, I got to put a corrective action, CAR, add a number to that so everybody understands what it is. And you can document that. Next slide, please. So you transfer the process flow diagram, identify if it's present or could be introduced. Next slide, please. And then look for the introduction of it. Assess the significance of the risk. Is it a 1, high severity, 2, likelihood, medium or high or low risk? When it's significant, when both severity and likelihood is high, the significant in the subcolumn 3 is high, then the process is at risk. So you can identify the risk and you have a team, not just 1 or 2 people or the quality person just putting it together. It's a team of people looking at severities and looking at those risks that are on there. When both severity and the likelihood is indicated in medium, then you required some corrective actions and inputs in the column. Next slide. Low, medium, and high. Look at all the risks, tell them where they're at. The quality team considers the inputs, and they decided as a team, is it a risk? Yes or no? If no decision, then there's no corrective action needed. It's an NA. But if it's yes, then you follow through with a management review, put a corrective action number to it, and then do the root cause, irreversible corrective action, implementation, and timing on it. Next slide. And that's the document. That's a template of it. So you can take each step, each operation 100, operation 110, 120. Don't care where it's at. Stored here. I receive it in. Could there be a risk receiving it? Maybe I don't have the right certification. Look at all that from a roll of steel, or did they send me the right documentation? Is the right number of parts there, the right weight? Even things like that from the beginning of your process flow diagram. Go ahead. Next slide, please.
Messed up, Steve. You're going to tell me when I'm back on track.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is fine?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all about the same. This is conduct a risk analysis. This is the main part here. Is it a risk? So it's just like evaluating the severity of a FEMA. Hopefully everybody understands what a FEMA is and the failure modes of that. This is something like that, but anybody should be able to do this as a team. And it's a majority of it, but you want different processes, different people from different avenues so that they do have some input. Again, always supported by upper management. Go ahead, next slide. And this is the action. How can I take the next step to eliminate it? How can I do that? Next step. What's the controls? So we actually go down in this when we actually do the training on it. We take a deep dive into that. We show them everything. In some cases here, you might have one or more controls at risk. So you got to identify each of those risks. Just a minute, I got to take a drink here. Go ahead, next slide, please. Is it at risk? And then the last one is basically, if it's yes, go ahead, next slide, please. And if it's yes, then we need to put a corrective action in place, identify what it is and what those team members are doing, and how many of those processes. Again, remember, every operational step is a deep dive. Does your company have the right people in place to do a risk analysis to help you take the deep dive to eliminate your failure modes? Even your standardized work, how deep are you going to go? The excuse is we don't have enough people. Well, then if you have a problem, then what are you going to tell your customer? Oh, we didn't have enough people to do that, but we shut down your plant because we didn't have enough people doing root cause analysis. Oh my gosh. I've heard stories like that. Shutting down plants, paying through the nose, controlled shipping, to all those kind of things, all the old things. So that's what we want to prevent. Next slide. We're almost done. So here's your green, yellow, red. Looking at it from a color code standpoint, it's an exercise. We do a breakout room. It's about a 4 to 6 hour operation if we go through the training on it, to make sure you take a deep dive into it so you understand it. Go ahead, next slide. This is basic method. So for product realization and risk management, company should include, it's part of your IATF 6.6.1.2.1 requires a company includes a risk analysis, lessons learned from product recalls, product audits, field returns, complaints, scrap reworks. I even add warranty in there. A lot of companies, I had 600,000 in warranty last year. Well, here, if you would have hired one person at 100 grand to take care of that, you could have still made 500,000 more to help identify that, root cause it, have somebody guide the warranty team for risk management. And that's just some things you can do. And then the next one, next slide. So some questions. Have the risk associated with the product realization? Have you used your worksheet? Yeah. Okay. Yes or no? If yes, then you identify the risk and use the worksheet. Go ahead. Go next question. Next slide, I mean. Is the FEMA methodology applicable? All right. Did you identify that risk in the FEMA? In your suppliers, when you did their PPAP, did you look at the FEMA and did any of their problems affect you in your tier 1 supplier, if that's the case? In your tier 2s and 3s or 4s or whatever, some of those could have had problems. Go ahead, next slide. And that's it. And then I can go on for another couple hours if you want and take up the actual gap analysis check sheet, but that's another training session. But that's pretty much what it is. It's a quick overview. Let everybody know this is just my experience for myself. Again, I've been in quality over 45 years now. Still a young guy, still trying to help out suppliers with that. But if you have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it if I can.
We had one in the chat about the sixth edition and how widely is that deployed, and if you went out, would you see people engaging with that right now, especially like at a assembly plant?
Yes, you mean the 6 rules edition?
Yeah, the sixth rules edition. Yes.
That's effective to anybody that's IATF 16949 certified.
Okay.
Every supplier that's in the automotive business should already know about this. It was released last March 24.
Right.
So effective today, it has to be in place. Are you ready for that? So you have to look at your Rule 6 edition, and does it affect you? Most of it has to do with individual plants and timing of the audits and those kind of things. It doesn't do too much to the quality or the gap analysis or internal audit checklist too much. It's pretty much standard on that, but it has more to do with when you contact your certified body, your CB, how are you working with that and making sure that they understand that it could be different timing. You got it's all the duration of all the different rules and how you're working at it. So that's individual company to their CB, NSF, or whoever it is.
Yeah, this question was about auto assembly plants like OEs.
Okay, auto assembly plants, they're supposed to be IATF 16949. That's the OEMs, right?
Right.
Are you going to go try to audit an OEM? Right.
I don't know.
That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But they're supposed to be effective. And yes, they are certified, but how many times you don't get to see their certifications with their companies, but they are certified. Every assembly plant as an individual has to be certified to the IATF 16949 according to the standalone document for every plant now, and Rule 6 effective to those documents and those OEMs. Hopefully that answers.
I think so. That's the only question I see in the chat.
Okay. Any other questions?
Stephen, this is Colin. Just a comment. I think it was slide 10. So whenever we bring in new employees for the past couple of years, I've been kind of charged with going through the quality, like the kind of the introduction to quality, stuff like this. What are some of our defects?
Yeah.
And I do a little bit of talking about auditing, and that, you know, when we have our audits as an operator, the auditor will talk to you.
Yep.
And I bring up a clip from the TV show The West Wing that was on years ago. And one of the White House staffers is talking with a lawyer, and he says, "Do you know what time it is?" And she says something like 10:45, and he says, "I want you to get out of that habit, asking more than what was asked."
Oh.
And so I'll ask them that question. I'll say to them, you know, so if I'm an auditor, and do you know what time it is? And he's like, "Yeah, you know, whatever the time." And I'm like, "That's not the question I asked you. The question I asked you was, do you know what time it is?" That's a yes or a no.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Even the things that I was talking about, eye contact and, you know, doing your homework, you know, before you actually do the final audit review with the customer that you're working with, you know, that you're certifying or doing an internal audit for.
Right.
All those kind of things. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I don't. I mean, I would never want to quote what our auditor had told us, you know, outside, you know, what they had shared with us word for word, or say who they were. But we were indicated by our auditors that in their training before they went out to do the most recent updates, and we had our IATF audit in July.
Yeah.
They are being instructed now to write more majors. And they said pretty much as of now, you know, he says we have been kind of told every nonconformance will start as the major, and unless you have the documentation to knock it down to a minor, it stays a major.
Well, if it's a major, there would be hardly any documentation kind of thing, or there was an error in it somehow.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard that rumor, if you will, that they're trying to do more majors so that they can, I would say, so that the auditors have a job to do. You know, it's another flavor of the month coming up again. To me, every 10 to 15 years, you have a new IATF 16949. Now, the next one's coming up soon. It was 2016, the last one was released. So 2000, the ISO 9001, 2015 is coming up in 25 or 26 review again. I'd have to look that up. But then following that, you're going to have the new IATF 16949 2027 or something like that. So that
Right.
again, the ISO 9001 first comes out, and then the IATF comes after that.
Right.
It's
But
coming.
yeah. And realistically, if you look at a large automotive supplier plant that runs 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, that might have 350 or 400 people on staff between salary plus operators and things like that. And nobody is that perfect. No. You're not going to go through a plant like that and not find something.
No, or if you can keep auditing till you find something. And that's what a lot of auditors, I'm talking CB auditors, the guys that come in there and actually do the third-party audit. They could stay there, or they say here, it's going to be 4 or 5, we're going to be here all week until we find something. I've heard people say that even, right? You can't be perfect all the time, but again, and then they'll go to your suppliers too. Or if you have your tier 1, and then you have 6 plants, right? And you're doing all those, each of those are a week for each plant, right? 4 or 5 days or whatever they are. So it's a lot of money when you have those kind of plants, and you got to have the auditors behind it. The more auditing you do, my recommendation, the more simple auditing you do, start out with LPAs daily, and anybody can do it. Do your complete plant in 30 days, every 30 days, every workstation, every standardized work process, and you should be able to eliminate or find those little errors in the process and add them. And that's where we're not doing right now. We're not doing a deep dive. We're just taking an overview, and everybody's okay with that. COVID's over. We're tired of that now. It's time to get dirty. Roll your sleeves up, girls and boys, and do the freaking audits that you're supposed to do. That's the whole thing. It's pretty simple to me. Go back to foundation again, right? Training. Training is what I saw like a number 1 problem in the tier 1s. They weren't training their tier 2s and 3s. They were just accepting what they gave them. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I'm checking the chat. Let me see.
I think I saw one just pop up about LPAs done.
Oh.
There it is. Question about sharing presentation from an audience member. What?
No, this is, you want me to ask it?
Go ahead.
Are LPA a sufficient way to validate a CA of a QN or nonconformance by itself?
Repeat that one more time, please.
It's from Jared, and he's saying, are LPAs a sufficient way to validate a corrective action of a QN? What's the QN? Or nonconformance by itself? By adding it to the audit, by adding it to the audit and monitoring to verify it doesn't pop back up as noncompliance, what are some other ways to validate corrective action?
Layered process audits are daily to find out what, but here, once you identify a nonconformance, it's going to be put on your major spreadsheet. It's going to be documented. So, and making sure upper management, not just the darn plant manager, but corporate people, so that they're involved and it's just not an individual plant by itself. You got to have corporate involved. Again, in my past, when I didn't have corporate involved, they didn't get the stuff done that they wanted to get done at the plant. So you got to have the commitment, the money, and those kind of things. The LPA, if you do it on a daily basis, standardized work is your start on the floor. Is that person or that station following the standardized work? And then you look at their HR, where they train properly in that flex matrix that they do, that training matrix. You know, there's standardized work training is one of the number one that I've seen. Did they read the document? Did the team leader show them how to do it? Did he monitor them, for a couple days or a week? And then he said, here, after a week, I'll let them go on what they're doing. All right, now he's certified. That's only like a level 3. When you can teach it, then it's a level 4. There's 3 or 4 different levels in there, not just the knowledge of it, but looking for those small little worms that you're trying to fish for is pretty easy to find it. And you start at the foundation, and over the last year and a half, since I've been doing the foundation kind of thing, those companies that I've helped out have found more smaller internal problems to put corrective actions in place and eliminate that. And they've improved their processes. So that's how I've seen my what would I call it? My positive attitude, when you can go, oh, wow, I helped this company get out of the debt because they had $80,000 worth of scrap, and now they're at a little over 15,000 just for implementing little things. It's pretty easy to do. But LPAs are a great way to start. If you need more commitment, just have them send me an email, and I'll try to help them out wherever I can.
Yep. So after this,
yeah,
do you want me to share your, not the Omnex, but the other email, right?
Yep.
And do you want me to PDF the slides and things?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah, please.
Okay, and then I'll send that out with the, and then I'll let people know where the recording is. It might take a day or so. What'll happen when we close the webinar?
Yeah.
Is a survey will pop up on your screen.
Yeah.
We like the people that are attending to take the survey.
Yeah.
We have a little drawing at the end of the year for a member benefit based on all the people that have attended and taken the survey. So we try and encourage people to take surveys that way. And my selfish interest as a person as the arrangements chair is to look for topic requests, things that people are interested in. We've had a lot of demand for audits, so thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
And we, for instance, we had requests for food quality, and I may have bastardized that because we had a tasting event at Zingerman's in Arbor, but they basically showed us how they source the materials they put in their stores and things like that. So I guess it was kind of on point, but yeah, so tours and things like that. So trying to find topics from people out of the survey. And the other thing that's on a typical slide that we put in front of the meeting is looking for people that want to be member leaders.
Yes.
So we're I think we're still, Greg, in need of a vice chair or somebody that's interested in being an understudy for the chair of the section, and there's other opportunities. So
sure.
Greg Stewart, you asked a chat question about sharing something. Do you want to share something?
No, I think you covered that.
Okay.
It's just you inevitably get people who want to see the slides again. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, the slides. Yeah, and it depends. Like we'll hear from Jay Zhao next month. He offered to fill in for his partner from Taiwan that couldn't do it in February because of a holiday. But Jay would give you his email and say, what do you want to see? And I'll share it with you. So most speakers are really cool with recording and sharing, and others aren't, and we'll announce that. So, and most people that were not cool with sharing a whole slide deck because they had some proprietary data in there or something, we're okay with a direct contact. So either way, so we'll give you Steve's email, we'll give you the slides, and I'll post a link to the recording, and you get your RUs. It might be a couple of 3 days because I'm actually doing some odd jobs these days. So,
yep.
Okay. Is there anything
good.
else?
No, I look forward to the feedback from the responses too. That'd be great. I'd love